A B-17 could come home with holes through its fuselage, an engine dead, and part of its tail missing. Some bombers returned with wings shredded, metal torn open, and control surfaces barely intact. Photographs of those aircraft became some of the most famous images of World War II. Those images made the B-17 look almost indestructible. But the machine was only half the story. Inside were 10 men, packed into one bomber, each depending on the others to survive. They flew for hours through freezing air, thin oxygen, and constant engine noise. They also faced German fighters and anti-aircraft shells exploding around them. Some crews made it back. Many did not. This is how the B-17 became the Flying Fortress, and what that legend cost. The story of the B-17 began before the United States entered World War II. In 1935, Boeing revealed the Model 299, a large four-engine bomber built around a bold new idea. It was designed to fly farther, carry a heavy bomb load, and defend itself better than the twin-engine bombers of its time. A newspaper reporter saw its machine gun positions and called it a flying fortress. The name stayed. The prototype impressed the U.S. Army. But during a test flight, it crashed after the crew failed to release a flight control lock. The accident destroyed the prototype and nearly ended the program. Instead of abandoning the design, the Army ordered a small group for further testing. Those aircraft proved the concept was too valuable to discard. By the time the United States entered the war, the design had evolved into a rugged, heavy bomber, ready for mass production. The B-17 was neither the fastest bomber, nor the one with the heaviest bomb load. Its advantage was balance, range, altitude, durability, and defensive firepower in a single aircraft. Four radial engines gave it redundancy. Lose one, and the bomber might keep flying. Lose two, and a skilled crew sometimes still had a chance. Later versions carried machine guns in the nose, top turret, ball turret, waist positions, and tail. The B-17G added a chin turret to defend against frontal attacks. But those guns did not make the aircraft safe. They created overlapping fields of fire that made a direct attack dangerous. Its aluminum structure could absorb damage, while broad wings kept producing lift even after sections were torn away. Yet every advantage still depended on the people inside. A typical B-17 crew consisted of 10 men. The pilot and co-pilot sat side by side in the cockpit. The navigator and bombardier worked in the forward section, with the bombardier positioned inside the glass nose. Behind them, the flight engineer also served as the top turret gunner and monitored the aircraft's mechanical systems. Farther back, the radio operator worked near the center of the fuselage. 4 more men defended the bomber, 1 in the ball turret beneath the aircraft, 2 at the waist positions, and 1 in the tail. They worked in cramped stations, separated by narrow passages, equipment, ammunition, and exposed structure, unstructure. Every instruction had to be clear. Every action had to be coordinated. One mistake could place all 10 men in danger. They were not simply passengers inside a machine. Together, they made the machine work. The B-17 was designed to defend itself, but a single bomber remained dangerously vulnerable. The solution was formation flying. B-17s flew in carefully arranged groups known as combat boxes. The aircraft were staggered above, below, ahead, and behind. This allowed their defensive guns to cover overlapping angles. To an attacking fighter, the formation became a moving wall of machine gun fire. But the combat box created new risks. Pilots had to hold precise positions, while turbulence, clouds, anti-aircraft fire, and damaged aircraft disrupted the formation. A bomber that fell behind became an easier target. One sudden maneuver could cause a collision. A large formation was also easier for ground defenses to detect and track. The combat box offered protection, but that protection depended on discipline under extreme pressure. American air doctrine was built around daylight precision bombing. The theory sounded simple. Fly high, navigate to a specific industrial target, and use the Norden bomb site. Then destroy the factories, rail yards, airfields, and oil facilities, supporting the German war machine. In theory, daylight made accurate bombing possible. In practice, Europe was often covered by cloud. Smoke hid the aiming points. Wind pushed bombs away from their targets. Anti-aircraft fire forced formations off course. And bombs released from high altitude could scatter across a wide area. The B-17 became the center of a strategy that promised precision, but often delivered uncertainty. Even when the target was military or industrial, the surrounding cities and civilians were still at risk. The distance between the plan and the result could be measured in miles. Before long-range escorts became widely available, B-17 crews flew deep into enemy territory without continuous fighter protection. German fighters often attacked head-on, where early B-17 defenses were weakest. Others struck from above, below, behind, and both sides. From the ground, anti-aircraft guns fired shells timed to burst at bomber altitude. Those explosions created flak. Black clouds, packed with metal fragments, moving faster than sound. Inside the aircraft, crews heard fragments strike the fuselage like handfuls of stones thrown against sheet metal. By 1943, missions against heavily defended industrial targets were producing catastrophic losses. During the second raid against Schweinfurt, 60 American bombers were lost in a single day. The message was clear. The flying fortress was tough, but toughness alone could not defeat an entire defense system. The danger did not begin with the enemy. The B-17 was unpressurized and often flew above 20,000 feet. At that altitude, the air was too thin to breathe safely, so crews wore oxygen masks for hours. A broken hose, a frozen valve, or one simple mistake could bring confusion, unconsciousness, and death. Inside the aircraft, temperatures could fall far below freezing. Metal surfaces became painfully cold, while gunners stood beside open windows. Moisture froze on masks, clothing, and equipment. Heated suits could fail, and hands quickly became numb. Frostbite could take hold before a crewman realized it. A mission might last 8, 9, or 10 hours. Long before reaching the target, the crew was already fighting exhaustion, cold, noise, vibration, and fear. The B-17 earned its reputation for survival honestly. Some bombers returned with engines damaged, gaping holes in the fuselage, sections of the tail missing, or control surfaces partly destroyed. Its airframe distributed the aircraft's weight and stress across many load-bearing elements. Damage that might have doomed a lighter aircraft did not always cause the new Prophet B-17 to collapse immediately. 4 engines gave pilots more options when something went wrong. Manual controls could sometimes compensate for damaged systems. But hitting the target was only half the battle. Keeping a shredded bomber airborne meant making fast repairs, using nothing but wire, tape, and sheer ingenuity. But the famous photographs tell only part of the story. They show the aircraft that returned, not those that broke apart, burned, crashed, or simply disappeared. Those survival stories became powerful propaganda because they were real, but they were also incomplete. The B-17 was survivable. It was never invulnerable. The air war changed when long-range fighter escorts could remain with the bombers deep into Germany. Aircraft such as the P-51 Mustang did more than protect the formations. They forced German fighters into repeated combat and hunted them in the air. Escort fighters also struck airfields and transportation networks. The bombers changed priorities as well. Oil refineries, fuel plants, railways, and transportation centers became critical targets. As fuel shortages deepened and the transport system came under pressure, the Luftwaffe found it harder to train pilots, move aircraft, and sustain operations. The B-17 remained dangerous to fly, and losses continued. But by 1944, the balance had shifted. The bomber formations were no longer isolated intruders. They had become part of a much larger system that was gaining control of the sky. The strategic bombing campaign was fought in machines, but its cost was measured in people. Beyond enemy fire, heavy bombers faced a complex system of deadly perils, from mechanical failure to collisions. Others were wounded, some were captured, and others were left stranded behind enemy lines. During the war, entire crews could vanish, leaving only an empty space. Back home, families waited for any word that might arrive. The bombing campaign also carried destruction to the ground. Factories and railways were often embedded inside densely populated cities. Bombs sometimes missed their intended targets. Residential areas burned, and civilians were killed, injured, or driven from their homes. Any honest history of the B-17 has to hold both realities at the same time. The bomber helped weaken Nazi Germany's ability to fight. It also carried war into cities on a scale that permanently changed modern conflict. When the war ended, the B-17's military career faded quickly. Newer bombers could fly faster, higher, and farther, while jet aircraft were already reshaping the future of air power. Thousands of B-17s were dismantled. Others found second lives as rescue aircraft, research platforms, firefighting aircraft, and civilian transports. A small number survived in museums and flying collections. This B-17 is a legend of aviation. Decades later, it still draws a massive true scale, a quiet giant on a silent runway. Its size is impressive. Its sound is unforgettable. It was more than just a machine. Not the aluminum, and not the 4 engines. It is the empty stations inside, the cockpit, the nose, and the radio room. Those empty stations continue through the waste windows, the ball turret, and the tail. Each station represents a job. Each job represents a person. Each person represents a story. The B-17 became a symbol of American air power because it seemed to combine strength, endurance, and purpose. It looked like a fortress. It flew in formations that seemed to fill the sky. And sometimes, it came home when no aircraft seemed capable of returning. But the legend should not hide the reality. The Flying Fortress was never an unbeatable machine. It was a demanding aircraft operated by young crews who endured freezing cold, fear, exhaustion, and extraordinary danger. Its story is not only about bombs dropped or factories destroyed. It is about 10 people, depending on one another, inside a thin metal shell, high above a continent at war. The B-17 became famous because of the fortress. It is remembered because of the people who flew it. Thank you for watching until the very end. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Your support motivates me to create more videos like this. If you have any feedback, suggestions, or corrections, please leave a comment below. I read every comment and will use your feedback to improve future videos. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.